Well, we went from high winds, rains, tornadoes, and craziness to not so warm weather and still rainy. We still have a job to do. So we're headed an hour and 20 minutes from the shop to go quote a potential pond. Let's go get this done. Well, all right, everybody. I just got done meeting with the customer. I have all of his hopes and dreams. I'm gonna walk you guys through this here for just a little bit. I'm running short on time as I've got some things to do back home. An hour and 20 minutes from home, as I mentioned just a short bit ago in the video. But this homeowner's hopes and dreams, him and his wife's hopes and dreams, are to have a pond that starts at this corner, runs along that ridge, all this being water, all the way out, take out that great big hump, and come all the way back over to this corner. As I walk this, boots on the ground, this is key, very, very key. As we walk down through here, I asked him, I said, this basin sure seems as though it should hold water. High spot, all low spot. Why isn't there any water in there, sir? And he goes, well, it runs over. It'll hold there for about a day. We better go look at that. So we get walking down through here. I get a good understanding. He's got maps printed out, aerial views, rough ideas. Makes perfect sense. Great thought process. We come out through here. We have this. We have a sinkhole. And we'll walk out through here a little further because you can tell water comes off of that and comes down in here, and you can see where it kind of sits in this area for a little bit. And then it kind of sets in here too. You can see that the grass is a little bit different color. And you can see right over there, you're like, oh, wait a minute, that's really a different color over there. This is kind of the path of that water. Yep, lo and behold, we have another spot. A lot of people might ask, well, what does that matter? What it matters is the water is coming off of that hill, setting on top of the grass, and then where's it go? So now we got to walk over here, and this will give you another full scope. And I always like these boots on the ground approaches for you guys, because I'm also going to go back to the laptop, or the hunt stand app, should I say, and I'm gonna draw this thing out. Virtually, it's gonna end up being a triangle, which is pretty cool. Yes, that means you have to build more dam. However, with the way this ground lays out, it lends itself to a triangular shaped pond pretty well, going off of that sinkhole, obviously. If that sinkhole wasn't there, now that we're over here on this high spot, you guys can see that really nice bowl right there. And you can see that fence right over there. Well, he's wanting from that fence to the other side of that bowl to be water. So if we were the contractor that just wants to cash a check, we'd say, sure, yeah, no problem. We can build this great big lake for you instead of it being a pond. Yeah, send us your money. That sounds great. Well, we were not those guys. So he said, you might ought to go over here and check out this other sinkhole. We're almost there now. We don't have to go quite all the way to it. I can give you a good line of sight just by being close, but you guys can see this is kind of all the same elevation, just a nice slow slope, and then boom, big hole. Well, we're down there where that wire is. It's another sinkhole. That entire area is a sinkhole, and you go down that hill, there's kind of like a runoff, a creek, a ditch. And then about a mile that way, there's they call it a creek, but it's basically a small river. There used to be a pond right here. You can kind of see where this is carved out. There's kind of a bowl in here. That used to be a pond. You can kind of see the gravel right over there too. Well, that was a cattle pond. It was a shallow, cows got in it, done their business in there. They dug that out. He knows from the previous owner that that always held water. He knows that for a fact. It held water, it never leaked. The cows just turned it into a mosquito nightmare, if you will. But if we stand right here, we line ourselves up with that sinkhole, you can almost see that low spot. Right there is that other sinkhole. So right through here, us being a contractor that wants to do quality work, I'm recommending to this potential customer that we don't build water over top of that potential connection. That water's going underground, and I have a sneaky suspicion whatever that feeds is the same thing that that sinkhole behind us feeds. But we still have a solution. We can still give this guy basically his hopes and dreams. So you see the cabin at the top of the hill. That's their home. They acquired this property with the mindset of they wanted a body of water to look over from their back porch. Well, if you draw that line straight through there, and I'll do this on the computer for you guys as well so you have a good bird's eye view, there's a high spine over there, and there's a great big high spine that runs all the way out through the center. So I believe this high spot is from where the original owner dug out that pond and transferred that dirt. That has proven that it holds water. When I get on Google Earth or any app that you can see an aerial view, there are ponds dotted out through here everywhere. They're holding water. So that's another good sign. Can I give him the 4-acre hopes and dreams? I don't recommend it. Mike wouldn't recommend it either. Can we give him half that? 1.5 acres to 2? That we can get pretty close to. The benefit to staying off of that line, let's call that a fault line, if you will. There's a crack down in the ground somewhere over in there, and it, see you by water. The benefit to staying away from it is if we pull that water all the way over here into this corner, as we get up here a little closer, you're going to see, shoo, this sucker drops off. So you guys have heard me before, dirt's cheap, haul cost is expensive. Well, that low spot that you guys saw right over there, you can't see it anymore. Guess why? There's a lot of dirt in between where we are at and where that low spot is. All that dirt, assuming it's good dirt, I don't have a crystal ball, assuming it's good dirt, all that dirt can be utilized to build this dam. That corner is deep. It drops off substantially. There's another sinkhole all the way over there by that little cedar tree, kind of right at the base of it. So as I look at this, everywhere I'm standing, safe. All the outer edges, not so safe. So I believe we can come in off the corner of that fence, run our back slope all the way along this fence, which this is 200 yards from that corner to that corner. And then instead of taking it out where the existing pond used to be and connecting to that high spot, we'll use that high spot to blend in where the original pond was, connected all the way over to the fence corner that you can see right there, which gets us on the side that we are standing on right now of that other fault line, crack under the ground, water disappearing, and we can tie that inside slope just off the other side of that fence and connect a long straight line, which ultimately comes to a point in this corner. Yes, this side and that side is going to be longer, and we really won't have to build any levee over there, any dam at all, except for a very short section from here to here. Just that little bitty area we're going to have to tie in. Now, what does this do for him? The homeowner, them, the homeowners. It gets them their long-term goals of a dream of having a pond near their back porch. Step one, I believe we can do that. As we come up here, I can really show you guys, there's a lot of dirt in here. that drops off probably, it's going to be roughly a 19, maybe close to 20 foot, but just shy of 20 foot tall levee. And then it tapers down to less levee, and it ends up being 6 to 7 feet over here and going to that corner. But there is a really big hump here. I'm still standing on that hump here, and it naturally fades away over there. So there's the bulk of the dam, and that's a really long length. Then you tie that corner from that red gate to that corner, that's 300 yards. So if you can imagine, point, point, point. You tie those 3 points together, we're standing right in the middle of that triangle. I believe that gets them the second thing they want, surface area. That great big mirror of water, early of a morning, late of an evening, no wind, just nothing but a reflection, because right there's their porch. Their porch will literally be 50 yards from the water, 40 yards from the water, somewhere around in there. So happy to get 2 acres, let's call it 1.5 acres for safe, comfortable measurements. Yes, we have to build a lot of dam, again, connecting that corner over there on this side of the low spot, this side of the sinkholes, to that red gate, that red gate to this corner, and then just kind of straighten it up and fade it off into that yard. So now they have a third positive. If they want to come out of the back side of their house and come in right next to this sycamore tree, either where the dog kennel is now or right here beside the sycamore tree, there is a nice slow slope, and the water's going to be right here, and it's going to carry all the way over to that corner. So you can have a beach area, you can have an entertaining area, and you've got all the bulk, the depth, the pressure, everything that this pond is going to have on that corner, which pulls it away from the negative areas, which is the sinkhole. I know I said sinkholes and corners a whole bunch, but the whole point of this conversation is the homeowner wanted a really big body of water. If it wasn't for the sinkholes, it'd be absolutely possible, and I believe he'd have enough dirt for it. With the sinkholes being there, I would hate it. I wouldn't be able to sleep at night if we came here and we charged this man a good amount of money to build a 4-acre lake for it to never hold water. That is definitely not what we want to do. And I truly believe, and Mike, he'll come here, he'll dig test holes, he'll confirm the dirt is worthy. He may even come up in here and dig around these sinkholes to confirm what it is, where it's going, is it running from here to there, and we can stay on the front side of it. Our inside slope would come over top. The core of the levee would be inside the sinkholes. I feel like we can hit a home run here. I really, really do. With all that being said, there's roughly 550 yards of levee to be built here, of dam to be built here. And normally, would you have to do that? No. But with the way this lays out, and you will not be able to see this on Google Earth or the bird's eye view, but this corner is obviously going to be the deepest. We'll take this dirt, transfer it to the corner, that dirt, transfer it to the dam that runs long ways, and then any of this that we have that's extra, we'll be able to utilize that for this backside, because it's nowhere near as tall. It's just really long, but probably at most 6 foot tall levee or dam across there. But we're really going to want to put a lot of dirt on this inside slope to ensure we've got a good buffer zone that never allows the water to get to those 2 sinkholes, which I firmly believe can draw a straight line to that far sinkhole down there at the end. So we've got enough dirt on site. I don't know if it's good dirt. I always quote these jobs when I see something like this with the assumption that the dirt is good. Well, here we are. You guys saw the boots on the ground. Now we are going to list this out so that you guys can actually see what the customer wanted versus what I'm going to quote the customer due to the hazards that we have. You guys can see right here, you've got a red balloon with an exclamation point, a second red balloon with an exclamation point, and a third red balloon with an exclamation point. These are the sinkholes, this being the big sinkhole, and these two up here to the northeast being, this one is the actual sinkhole, and this is just where the water also disappears. So if I was to lay this out per what the customer wanted originally, over here is the fence corner that we are going to try to meet. Yes, these are going to end up straight lines. They're not going to end up perfect with the contour, but virtually this customer wanted this entire area. We can go shy of the sinkhole. That's actually not what was wanted, but this entire area here, you remember this being the high spot, and to the south or below the current crosshair, that exclamation point within that balloon being that bowl, and then connect it over to here. So can we achieve that? No. The reason is these sinkholes over here. So what, instead of it being this large of a pond, you can see up there in the top left-hand corner, it says 3.78 acres. I talked about 4 acres in the beginning of this video or somewhere in the middle of the video, but that was kind of the want. That was, hey, best case scenario, but what do you think? So instead of hitting close to 4 acres, what we are going to have to do is avoid those sinkholes. So instead of coming around them, I believe we can come over here at this corner and we can bring a dam below those sinkholes. And if you remember, I stated a triangle, and run that triangle basically over to where this fence row splits up and splits off to these lower pasture sections. Come over to this corner being that really deep corner in the video. Again, I didn't take the laser, but seeing the elevational change, we're working with somewhere between 18 and 20 feet. I don't believe it's going to get to 20 feet, but it's going to get close. Come all the way over into this corner. And if you guys remember, this bottom side to the left of the crosshair you see there was the 200-yard dam. And then we had roughly a 50-yard area down here that we would go up. And then it actually meets the property elevation change somewhere right around in here. So this dam from the crosshair down to this corner is going to be a short one. It's only about 50 yards, give or take a few yards. But then it's going to break over and come along this tree line and come to about this point and then connect back in here. Now, as you can see up there in that top, I stated 2 acres on the video, and I said, but for safe measure, let's call it 1.5. I'll show you the reason that I'm saying it may end up only being 1.5. Let's save this and call this the pond. With that being the total area of the pond, one thing that we have to keep in mind is right here where the crosshair is, we may be able to expand this some going this direction. But all of this in this area right in here is a great big high spot. So if I were to draw a line that kind of represents the way that we would have to build this, we've got some extra dirt over in here. The property line runs just about right through here. We don't have any set points other than the sinkholes. And the property line on the south side is all the way over here. And again, as mentioned in the video, this cedar tree right here right below the crosshairs there is actually where that other sinkhole is. And none of this area in here has any sinkholes or anything that looks like a concern. So if I was to draw a what-if scenario, we're going to take a lot of dirt this way. And let's just put that as a path, dirt path. And you would virtually come down through there, and you would do that multiple times. I'm only going to draw a couple of arrows because you guys have seen me lay things out before. But we're going to have a lot of dirt that we're going to hog out of here, and it's going to go in the direction that you see these arrows facing. Now, normally, whenever you're building a pond in our area, this would be the only dam, this stretch right through here. But with the way this land lays, you remember just a second ago I mentioned we're going to have a 50-yard dam here, and then we're going to have a 200-yard dam going to this corner, and then essentially it ends up being 300 yards across here. Now, with all that being said, this high spine, we need this dirt in this area to build the dam that is on this lower portion, the lowest corner of the property. So we're actually going to end up taking this dirt two different directions. I know this one's going to extend a little bit beyond, but this is going to be another path for the dirt, not dirty, as we're going to have to actually push dirt two different directions to accomplish the dam that needs to be built here. Over here, we would do the same thing. It's going to go in this direction. Now, a lot of people might think, well, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to push dirt two ways. Well, you're right. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but realistically what we have here is gravity in our favor both ways. That high spine kind of runs from this fence opening and runs all the way out across here, and it kind of turns and comes out, but it also runs across this way with the only low spot being right in here. So we can come all the way back into here if need be. And again, shorter push is a better push, but if we need to push dirt from the backside, we can also utilize this as a dirt path as well. And what it all comes down to is, where is the good dirt? We know for a fact that there was a pond right in this area here, and we know for a fact that it held water. The only reason why they dug this back corner out was due to the fact that it was a shallow pond and the cows just turned it into a nasty nightmare, whereas this guy's trying to build a really nice, good size body of water that has the view that he's looking for from here, which you still have, and then also an access point for entertainment, which is where this corner comes into play. So if you remember the way that ground lays out, we do have to build a probably 6 foot tall levee in this area. Dam, sorry, levees aren't for ponds. Build a 6 foot tall dam from here to probably about this point right here. And then from that point over, it gets to be a short dam, but it all depends on how much of this dirt we really need for this bottom side. So if you were to break this up into sections, I would, let's draw another shape. I would believe that we are going to take dirt from this area here. We can bring this on over. Oops. And then connect it to here. And we would use that area, I'm going to call that a boundary. We would use that area for the short dam on the north side. And the reason I state that is right in here is the north side. Yes, it runs from the southwest to the northeast. However, if we utilize this high spine for this dam here, which is shorter and doesn't require as much dirt, And then we use this main center section all through here, and I'll draw that out for you guys as well so that you can see the different points. I'm going to say from here to probably there, down to there. And we're going to have a whole lot of stuff overlaying each other here. But this entire area here, again, we'll call that a boundary. And we're going to call that dirt for south side. So you can see with our arrows we have there, all these arrows, this main high spot is going to be utilized for this arrow and this arrow to basically bring up to proper elevation this entire 200-yard dam. This small corner over in here, we can carve it out and use that for this 50-yard section here. And then we've got the backside of this high spine, because you got to remember, all these fences are going to be taken out, and that gate's a high point. We can push whatever dirt we want to push over top of these sinkholes here and here. We just don't want to hold water over top of them. So with the way these arrows are facing, that's actually going to give us two types of positive outcome. If I was to draw that, I would draw that from this point here, come across, make a slight turn, come all the way down to this corner, and then kick back this direction. And you guys will understand this here in just a second. And come on past, and then connect these two dots. Now there's not going to be anything that happens in these trees here in their actual yard, but I'm just going to connect these dots so that you guys have a good visual. Now if we save that as other, this is going to be the outer, not putter. Well, my goodness gracious, it is not going to let me type outer today. Oh, that's because I'm typing it incorrectly. Outer back slope is what this is going to end up being. And for those of you who have seen us build ponds before, you understand what that means. But for those of you who haven't seen us build ponds before, this water line is inside of dam. Okay, so everything that is blue would end up being water. The thin red lines is where we're going to get our dirt from. The yellow lines is where we're going to take the dirt to. And the orange perimeter is basically saying from the water line you're going to have a 2-foot freeboard, so 2 feet from top of dam is the water line, and then we will have a flat spot over roughly 10 feet, let's call it 10 feet, sometimes they're 8 feet, but then from that 10-foot mark, every bit of this orange area will be the actual slope that the homeowner would mow and or maintain on the backside of the levee. I keep saying levee. On the backside of the dam. So all this orange area in here would essentially end up being a slope that takes you from the flat spot that connects to the water's edge down to the bottom of the slope, and all this would be maintainable. The reason you have to keep that in mind is if this was a property line here at this fence, we wouldn't be able to carry that back slope all the way through. But this area here, you guys saw that bottom fence, and it has a really nice slow slope to it. It gets steeper as it falls away. So once we bring all of this section and all of this corner up to elevation, which matches this high side right over here, this ensures that all this pitches slowly away from the water, away from the top of the flat spot, and connects with the existing contour, which most of these are slopes. This one slopes this way, this one slopes that way, and that ensures that we've got enough support for the dam that we'll build right here on the blue line to hold it back and give this homeowner a nice long area to maintain all the way around that body of water. So hopefully all that makes sense to you all. The boots on the ground gives you the visual of the actual site. This gives you the bird's eye view. Yes, we had some concerning areas, and this blue edge here may end up pull this way a little bit. It all depends on what we find whenever we start digging in here. That's probably going to be discovery number 2. Discovery number 1 is, do we have enough good dirt all through here to hog it out and utilize it for the dams that have to be erected? But if we start stealing dirt in this area, what does that do to where these sinkholes are? Do we start making it worse? Or can we figure out to where we lay our core right in through here, and that back slope covering up those sinkholes doesn't mean anything, and we have no risk to this pond and everything would go well? So that gives you the full picture. Hopefully that helps you guys understand the thought process and why we're trying to mitigate any risk that there may be to a leaky pond, if you will. Hopefully you enjoyed the video, and as always, like, comment, subscribe.